Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing on with our Genestealer Cult Project. We're going to be working on our Magos, and I love this model, lots and lots of detail. I like the jewelry all kind of hanging down below here and the gems and the decoration. We're going to be going with the Cult of the Rusted Claw because we don't see a lot of orange in armies, and it's a nice bright vibrant color, and I'm looking forward to seeing all these guys on the field. So I'll get this guy primed up and we'll be right back. Okay, so we've primed our Magos in CORAX white, and now we're going to start working immediately on the robe. So I'm going to use MEPHISTON red. I normally go with a corn red, but I'm actually kind of digging the MEPHISTON red's bright colors, as we are going to be, well, going to be kind of a dark army normally, so I'm going to go with a little bit brighter. So I'm going to start off with MEPHISTON red, and I'm going to do the robes of our Magos here. Okay, so the red's all done. We've got lots of vibrancy. Looks really good. Next step is to do his armor, his mining gear now in ADMINISTRATUM gray, and just a really thin coat. I've got it thinned down on the side here. Just a super thin coat of ADMINISTRATUM gray all over his armor. So I'm going to do the inside of his cowl at the back here. I'm going to do his backpack and all underneath. And we'll see how it looks. Alright, so the ADMINISTRATUM gray is all dried and looks nice, and once it washes in, it'll be nice and dirty. It'll look like things with good intentions gone bad. And now we're going to be working on with our Steel Legion DRAB. We're going to be working on the holster for the gun, and the sword scabbard. We're going to put that in there as well. So really looking forward to seeing these guys. I love the idea of the cult. Oh, we'll probably get his little bag in there too. Keep his snacks in there for later. And then once he's all done, it's going to be quite vibrant in terms of color. I think it'll be great. The red is really nice. I like it actually a little bit better than the deeper corn red for this guy. It's the only way it'll stand out in those muddy, gross corridors filled with fumes and garbage. And then the scabbard on the sword's a little bit tricky, so I'm actually going to paint this first. And then what I'll do is I'll move in, let's go a little sloppy on this one, and then I'll go in and I'll just paint over top with the decoration on the scabbard here. Okay, looking good. So now next up is going to be our LEADBELCHER, and we're going to coat everything metallic. So the shaft of the staff, the idol of the four-armed emperor up here, and just inside the hilt of his sword. Just one of those. Tops of all the little baubles here. Okay, the handle of his auto gun pistol. Nice to see he's not relying on just the magics there. So the handle of the auto gun pistol, and then the shaft of the stave here, staff shaft, and then the cult icon up here, the four-armed emperor who's holding up the gem. So I'll continue on with this and clean it all up. Okay, with the metallics all looking pretty sharp now, we're going to start on our gold. Now I'm going to be basing it with RETRIBUTOR armor, and there's actually quite a bit of gold on this guy, so let's get started. So he's going to have his little gem here on his little cord, and we're also going to do the base of his staff. We'll do the top of the staff. We'll do the little voxy bit in here, and then we'll do the jewelry here as well. In addition to that, we'll be doing his stole, which is the whole of the stole here. We'll fill it in later with different colors. and the little symbols down at the bottom. And then lastly, these little tiny cables at the back here. Alright, so I'll finish off all of these, and I'll be right back. We've got all the gold embellishments done here, and I did a couple more things than I said I was going to. The scabbard on the sword, and then the handle of the sword as well. Plus, I just want to make sure it all happened on the back as well, and I kind of cleaned things up a little bit on the back. So all his jewelry's done. I'm missing a ring somewhere in here. Yeah, there's a ring here, and there's another ring here. So I'll get those after I've done the flesh. So I'll do that on the next pass because they're really, really small. So next up, I'm going to be using Rakarth flesh, and I'm going to go after all of the flesh elements of our guy. Now I'm using a pretty fine detail brush on this, because I just want to make sure that I get in right up against the gold. And on the face, I want to get in behind the head, and the fingers on the stave are going to be really tight to get in. So just going to make sure that I go through. So obviously his arm down here, his hand, and his head, and his other hand over here. And I'll try my best to leave that ring not exposed there. Alright, so I'll continue on with this, and he'll be good to go. After this, we're going to be working on the orange, which will be super tricky, but we'll make it work. Okay, finally now, we're going to take our Troll Slayer orange, and we're going to do just the inside of the stole, this little scarf thing there, and the inside of the fabric. Now he's got a little bit of fabric that's revealed right through the center there. So I'll just do that real quick. Super gentle in there. Now I can always touch up if I mess up a little bit, which I'm doing. Okay, and then the next thing we'll do is inside of the stole. So I'm just going to go through and pick out the inside of the stole, being very careful not to take out that orange, sorry, not to take out the gold that I just did. We've completed all of our base coats now, and we're just about ready for the wash. I left a few pieces out, his little vials of goo there, his gems, those were left out as well. But everything seems to be looking pretty solid. I just did a dummy check, went around, make sure that all the edges were topped up nice, and that wherever the two colors met, it was a little cleaner, which was great. And yeah, I finished off the base to kind of match the rest of what I'm going to be doing with the army. It's just going to be a super simple, kind of rocky type pattern. I love the look of the orange and the red so far, and I think the wash is just going to bring that out even a little bit more. So I'm going to use my custom wash here. Now my wash is essentially, it's 25% Agrax Shade, 25% Nuln Oil, and 50% of just a regular cheapy floor wax. Got it from Walmart, or basically anything in this, wherever you are in the world, you can figure it out. So what's nice about that floor wax is it gives this beautiful. You can see here how easily it just flows into each of the little bits of ribbing. It flows into the stole here, and it does a great job. I love the color of the shades, but I think they dry a little thick and a little flat. So you can see here I can really dump it in, and then it just drains out really well. So you want to make sure you catch all that pooling. It also brings out the red in the robes really well as well. So I'll keep washing, making sure that I catch all the little pools. And if you get a pool, you can just soak it up a little bit with your brush, and then put a little bit back in until it kind of gets where you want it to be. And I will keep going with this. I'm going to go all the way around the model and make sure that he's all dressed up nice. Alright, our wash is all finished up, and man, it looks great. It's really brought a lot of depth out now. You can see all the ribbing in that cowl at the back there, and in his stole, you can see all the highlighting and all the gold. The little emperor, the four-armed emperor icon up there, the Genestealer Emperor icon is all nice and detailed now. So all we're going to do now is just brighten up those colors, and it's essentially going to be just going back over with some of the primary colors here. So I'm going to go with MEPHISTON red, and I'm just going to go over top of the majors of the robe. So again, just kind of leaving all those recesses. So anywhere where you see creases and things like that, I'm just going to go over the majors, and we're going to do one more highlight after. I just want to bring out just the major highlights on here. So just going over the higher raised areas, leaving that nice gradiated shading down below. All right, next we're going to apply our highlight of Wild Rider Red just to the very edges of the robe here. Now all we're doing is we're just bringing out that little pop of color to define that edge. So I'll do it all around the edges of the robe and just at the very high points of each of the creases in the robe, or each of the folds in the robe. So we can see that the red now is all bright and vibrant and beautiful. It really pops out really nicely. So nice and bright and colorful. And we're going to continue that on now with our Troll Slayer orange. And we're just going to do the stole and that little bit of his undergarment there, his orange garment underneath. It's that little bit of fabric in the very bottom there. So we'll just touch that up and add a bit more color to that. And then we'll go in and we'll just do the stole, and I'll just do the center part. Just try and sneak in there and brighten up a few spots where the orange has been kind of muted by the wash, but I still want that gradation inside. So this is a super tight fit, but it gives that nice punch of color. Next off, we're going to be going in and doing our metallics. So I'm going to go and I'm going to grab my LEADBELCHER. Let's go here. And I'm just going to do a once over on his staff and the idol. Now, I'm going to go even with a little bit brighter, but just for the staff, I think more importantly than the idol, I'm just going to just touch it up to give it a little bit extra sheen. It's going to be barely noticeable, but I want to transition that Runefang steel we're going to throw in pretty quickly here. So I'm just going to do an overbrush, so not a dry brush, but just kind of a wet brush, just hitting the majors across the top of our idol. Okay, with our orange done now and our LEADBELCHER done, we're going to go on the two main highlights for the metallics. We're going to do Runefang steel on the LEADBELCHER, so the stave and the idol, and then we're going to go fulgurite copper on the stole and the little Genestealer icons there, all the little bits of Retributor armor that we did previously. So let's get going on that. So the Runefang steel, it's going to be super simple. Now when you're doing a stave like this, I usually just pick one spot, kind of the most visible where the light would bounce, so kind of just facing the viewer most often. And then I'll do that on the back as well, so I won't paint it all the way around. So I'll do that. And then I'll do the idol, and the idol is going to be a little bit of an overbrush. So again, we just want to pick up where the light's going to hit. So I'm just going to almost in a paint, but in a top down. So up, starting up and then pulling down and just catching the glints of light off of the top. So with the spine, it'll just be almost like a running down. Just a very gentle overbrush. Perfect. All right, now with the fulgurite copper now, with the fulgurite copper, I'm just going to do just a very simple edge highlight around things like the stole, just to add a little bit of depth of color, so just a glinting off the edges. So not a repaint, just a glinting of the edges there. And I'll do it with the icons down at the bottom, making sure I just leave those eyes, the shading in the eyes there. So just along the edge. Perfect. And of course his little Vox projector there. And of course all his jewelry and on the staff. So I'll do the staff. Just do a little bit of an edge. It's very light, kind of overbrushing, just give it a little bit of highlight. And on his jewelry, so his little gold chain here, his coins. cable at the back, on the side, and then just the back of this as well. And then finally we'll do his ceremonial knife. And we'll just go in and do an edge highlight over that. Perfect. Alright. Looking great. Alright, paints are all shook up, and now we're going to go in and do the flesh. Now I've chosen KISLEV flesh because I want to bring them closer to my Tyranids, to my Genestealers, than say normal regular flesh would be. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just picking a KISLEV just so it's a nice kind of paler color. So they look human, but they're not quite human. So I'm going to do that kind of T-zone there where I do the skull, the nose, kind of the framing around the eye. And I just want to bring out these little raised bits here, but I still want to leave that. I still want to leave the recesses there. So I'm just going to take my time and I'm going to build up color, just watching where the wash went and dodging where the wash kind of sank in and just picking out the highlights. So again, just take your time, kind of build it up gradually. Okay, we're rounding the corner and getting close to completion. We're going to start working on some of the smaller details now. For example, the gems, his little black fingernails over there, obviously with the ABADDON black that we're doing now, and his little vials of super goopy green stuff. So let's get going on that. So I'm going to start with the nails first. It's just kind of a small thing. I'll use ABADDON black here, and then we'll give him a little bit of a mani. Can't see his toes, so no petties, but and all I'm going to do is just kind of skim over just the end where his fingernails are. And although it's a fairly small detail, I think it adds some kind of crazy demonic monstrosity element to it, and it's a very subtle detail, but I think it's pretty solid. And then of course his fingers on his staff here, being very careful not to get it on the staff. Okay, we're getting to the final stretch now, and we're going to now be working on the fine detail of the gems. Now, a little bit of caution for the gem on the chest, but the gem for the idol here should be fairly straightforward. So we're going to echo the colors of the Tyranids, actually, that I've painted in the other videos and the rest of my army. So I've got NAGGAROTH Knight, then I've got XEREUS Purple, and then I've got Genestealer Purple, and I'm going to do of course, the trademark dot with the white scar. So let's get into that. So I'll start off with my NAGGAROTH Knight. Now I've pre-shook these pretty well because I want to kind of flow from one to the other. So, all right. So I'll just take my NAGGAROTH Knight and just be super careful that I don't get onto my metallics that I've already done. Beautiful. And then of course the chest piece there. Alright, so this one's going to be a little tricky because he's got these tines in there. But I can always go in and tidy up if I need to. Being pretty careful, making sure that I've got it. Beautiful. All right, now with those still wet, I'll clean my brush, and I'll move on to the XEREUS Purple. I'm kind of pre-shook these all up. Now this should dry. It was a pretty thin coat, so it should dry fairly quickly, but I don't actually mind a little bit of blending. Now, with these guys, I'm going to go in and see if I can focus in on that. And I'm going to do, instead of the highlight, if we imagine the light coming from the top, that'll all reflect down at the bottom on that bottom third. So I'm just going to pick that bottom third and do that XEREUS Purple there. So it's almost like, yeah, it's like a bottom third, but it's on that bottom left crescent. All right, and I'll do the same on this one here. Beautiful. as I pulled the paint off. Well, that one maybe should let it dry more. Just top it up with that XEREUS purple. And then finally, I'll do my Genestealer purple. Now it's going to go exactly where the XEREUS purple was, only it's going to be kind of halfway through the XEREUS purple, and it'll be just at that very edge. Just almost like a very fine edge highlight. I'll do the same at the back here. Beautiful. And then finally, I'll use my white scar and just do that little fine white dot up at the top. So I'll load it up the brush with the white scar. And I'll do my little fine dot on the top right. And then I'll do it on the top right of this one here. And then I'll do the dot on the top right of the one up here. All right, so the gems are now complete, looking solid. And the next one I'm going to do is the green vials down below. So I'm going to shake all my paints up just so I have them all ready to go. And I'm going to do his little green vials there, and we will be done. Okay, next up we're going to be doing the green vials to finish off our Magos. So I'm going to start with CALIBAN green as our base, and then going to WARPSTONE glow, and then a MOOT green for this little bit here. So I'll start with the CALIBAN green, good coating of all of that. Okay, next up is WARPSTONE glow, and I'm just going to do very much like a gem, the treatment around the bottom left of each of the vials. So I'll just kind of skim the left side and then the bottom, and I'll do that with each of these. Skim the left side and the bottom with our WARPSTONE glow, and then I'll take our MOOT green. I'll again follow that edge, and then do little dots to represent the bubbles. Alright, our Magos is now complete. So I've just finished up the base here, and he's looking really solid. Really happy with the way he turned out. Obviously the red robe adds lots of drama to the model on the table, and there's not a lot of this type of color going on with the rest of the army, so really nice to see. He's got lots of contrast between the mining gear and his robe and all of that. The really kind of ornate yet very industrial, kind of staff and the idol there is really cool. Loving the way the orange just kind of pops out against the red and against all the kind of more muted colors. Really nice. So really happy with the way he turned out. I'm looking forward to using him on the table and casting spells against the Emperor's populace, and having these huge uprisings, and of course using the psychic beacon to rain in terror from the skies with this Tyranid invasion. So really happy with the way he turned out. So that's the end of our video. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, as it really helps get the video out there, and it really helps the channel out. If you're interested in more painting videos like this, please subscribe to get notifications of all the future videos. And I just want to say thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.